Welcome everyone to episode 29 of Raw Sport. We have another big one, a very special guest, Mr. Conor Wallace. Conor, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you? How's things?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, and thank you very much for having me on to start.
Conor, my absolute pleasure, mate. For those who don't know much about yourself, give us some background information. Take us back in history. Who is Conor Wallace? Where did it all start for him?
So I was born in Ireland. I'm just coming 28 years of age. I've been here in Australia now for 6 years, but I started out as a young kid. I was getting bullied in primary school, and then my mum took me to the boxing gym, and from there, I had my first fight when I was 11, and 175 amateur fights later, and 13 pro fights. Here I am, ranked number one in the country and top 10 with four of the governing bodies.
Wow, very, very special, mate. Number one, light heavyweight in Australia, ranked in probably all four sanctions top 10. Absolutely amazing effort. This is your time. Conor Wallace, let's dig deep into your training. Boxing is a very, very hard sport, very intense, 12 weeks, 10 weeks, training camp. What's the most challenging aspect of training for a fight like this, and how do you overcome it?
Yeah, well, I think the sacrifices like a lot of boxers make, not just myself, it's massive. The things you miss, the things you can't go to. If cutting weight, all that, so all the things that you take into like the normal people take as a given. And people don't really understand. They say if you're sort of half in bad form or a bit moody or whatever, they're like, oh, what's wrong with him? But until they're actually in your shoes, when it's hard when you're cutting weight, you be a bit like grumpy and that, but it is what it is. But I think when you get your hand raised and the big nights under the bright lights, it all makes up for it. When you're walking out, you have the walkout, you see all the crowd wearing your t-shirts, the walkout song, everything, and especially getting your hand raised and getting that belt wrapped around your waist. There's no feeling like it.
Absolutely. I mean, how many Christmases have you missed, or Christmas lunches have you missed because you got fights coming up?
Oh, don't worry, I've had my fair share of missed ones and missed birthdays and missed functions and festivals, concerts, everything.
Exactly. So, but mentally, what's that thing that keeps you going? Like, what's that thing up there that says to you, "This is all worth it," and you just keep striving through and pushing through?
Yeah. Well, as I say, I'm a very competitive person. I've have been since I was young, and I've dreamt about being a world champion since I was a young boy, and that's what gets me up out of bed every single morning. Like on the days you don't feel like doing it, oh, you gotta hang with it. I have it on my wallpaper. I have a photo of me getting my hand raised, and a fight that a lot of people thought I wouldn't win. But just that feeling of knowing that hard work pays off, and every morning my alarm goes off, I see that um, wallpaper on my screensaver. And I just know about that's that feeling that I love, and that's the feeling that you chase all the time.
Absolutely. So you have a very big fight coming up on the 17th of March, live on DAZN,
Yeah.
international broadcast. DAZN's it's got an international audience. Big fight for you. Take us through your pre-fight ritual. What does that look like, and how do you mentally prepare for jumping in that ring?
Yeah. Well, I think like my hard work is like what really gives me the confidence. You know what I mean? I'm not really like a cocky person. I don't talk much shit or anything. You know what I mean? I like to sort of do my talking in the ring as such, and my confidence sort of comes from the work that I put in. I know that I train hard. If my runs, I run hard, like everything. You know what I mean? I don't like to miss a beat in my training. And I think that's what gives me the confidence. Like I don't really get nervous as such before a fight. It's more so just wanting to do well, and wanting to get that win. Like I've no real fear of getting hit or getting punched in the face. Like that doesn't bother me at all. It's more so just the feeling of knowing the work that I put in and the sacrifices that I made. Like you just want it to pay off as such. And every time in every camp, that's what I think of. In the sessions you don't feel like doing, they're the ones that count, I believe. And that's what separates winners from losers.
Absolutely. Jack Gipp's going to be a big opponent. It's going to be a huge night. The world's watching. Australia's watching. But if we go back in time, what would you say is the most memorable fight that you've had so far? And what was the biggest lesson you've taken away from it?
Oh well, I think the Forest fight probably was a big one for me. You know, like a lot of people had wrote me off. I was paying $8. That's the fight where I won the belts. But like I'd sparred him before, and like in sparring, you know, I'm not saying like everyone shows their hand in sparring or whatever, but like you know from a spar how you sort of go, or like if you can handle someone or whatever. And I just knew, like, it was a fight that I always wanted, and I just knew I had the beatings of him, and no one gave me a chance apart from my own sort of team or people close to me, you know, and my close friends and stuff obviously backed me and stuff, and they won a lot of money on the bookies. But like that was a fight that I just I knew, like, with like believe in yourself, and you know, and that was the first sort of fight where I came out. Obviously, I had a loss before at the Letty. You learn a lot from your losses, but coming back and getting the rematch with Letty, got the win. So there's a couple of fights there that I took a lot from one win and one loss. You know what I mean? Like one of the wins that made me grow a lot as a person, believe in myself, believe in my team, that sort of thing. And was on a massive stage on the Jai Batai undercard against Bradis. So that was a good platform to get a win. And then obviously my loss, you know, going back to the drawing board. I'm not this unbeaten prospect anymore. Took a little bit of pressure off me, went back to the drawing board and worked with my team and overcame that loss. Then, like knocking Letty out in the rematch, that was one fight that I wanted to get back and just right that wrong and move on with my career, you know. So, I think I'm in a good place, you know. I'm coming 28 now next month, as I say, and fully fledged at the weight. I feel big and strong, getting bigger and stronger with each camp. And I'm looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. You know, I've put a lot into it and sacrificed a lot in this sport. So um, I'm really looking forward to putting on a show on St. Patrick's Day for all my fans and people.
So you're number one in Australia, top 10 ranked in all the sanctions, and St. Patrick's Day means a lot to you being an Irishman. How do you handle the pressure?
Yeah, you know, as I say, I love it. You know, I love the big nights. I love the bright lights and just seeing the crowd and everything. I'm sure if you've watched any of my fights, you see the crowd that I bring to get amongst it. And I love that. You know, that's what really drives me on and motivates me. Some people are great sparrers in the gym and then can't really seem to do it in the ring, whereas I think I'm a bit the opposite. You know what I mean? I like to do my work in the ring. That's where it needs to be done. You know, there's no world titles won in sparring, so
Absolutely.
I got I love it. You know, I thrive off that, and I love the big nights, and I'm privileged to be given the chance to headline for the third time in a row, live on DAZN by Tasman fighters from Mick and Fran. You know, I'm very grateful, and it's going to be massive. It'll be huge, and I'm looking forward to St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be quite the event, and I think it's going to be one that I think that when you deliver the goods, Australia's going to know a lot more about Mister Conor Wallace.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
good. Jack is a good opponent. I'm definitely not underestimating him. You know, he had a massive amateur career, and he's coming. You know, he's hungry. He's undefeated. It's going to be a great fight, but I reckon it's going to bring out the best in me. Fighting a boxer of his level. You know, I believe the better the boxer, the better I perform, and I'm looking forward to that.
what's one thing that you wish more people knew about the life of a professional boxer? Because we're seeing all this YouTube boxing and all this other influencer boxing, and now all of a sudden the common person thinks, oh, boxing. Some people have that misconception that boxing is easy and they can just jump in a ring and make all this money. But
Yeah.
there's so many things that the common person doesn't know. Is there something that really stands out to you, Connor, that you can share with us that you wish people knew more about?
Yeah, well, just for people like, you know, that don't really know much about it, you know, I just believe that the work and sacrifice that boxers do have to put in, you know, even starting out your early days in of your career, you know what I mean, when you haven't got much sponsorship, you haven't got much anything, you know, and like it is a very, very hard game, and very, very few make it. You know, you might be an unbelievable boxer, but you still might not make it because you haven't got that backing, you haven't got that um, following, you know, maybe can't sell tickets. You might be the best boxer in the world, but no one's really ever going to see you because you don't market yourself well. You can't, or well, maybe not that you don't. Some people just can't sell tickets, don't have the personality for it, don't have the following, don't have like the family, the friends. So it's a very hard game, and I'm very grateful and privileged to be in the position I am and to have the following I have. You know what I mean? It basically feels like home here for me in Australia. The turnout I have at the fights, and I'm very grateful and humbled by that.
That's absolutely amazing, my man. Let's talk about the world of boxing at the moment. How do you see the state of boxing internationally? Are we in a good place?
Yeah, I think boxing is probably in one of the best places it's been in my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like it's going from strength to strength, and even especially Australian boxing. I think Australian boxing is in the best position it's been in a long, long time, or maybe if ever. With the likes of the guys we have, Jai Bataya and Tim Zhu, um, obviously George Kambosos as well. Like the stuff they've done in the sport is unbelievable, and that just paves the way for young, hungry people like myself.
Is there anything you wish the world of boxing was doing that's not currently being done?
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well. All the big promotional companies are joining together now, and the best is fighting the best. And over in Saudi Arabia and America, everyone's getting it. Everyone seems to be getting a chance, and I'm really, really looking forward to like get my shot at that. And that's what drives you. Like them big nights and seeing like local boys like Jai and Justice and them doing it on that big stage. It makes you really, really work hard and want to do it.
The Saudis are definitely splashing the money, and hopefully you can get some of that, my man.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you see this? Sorry, what do you say to people that say boxing is dead and the UFC is taken over?
Nah, I don't really agree with that. Yes, I got been to a couple of UFC fights and everything. It's unbelievable. The atmosphere, the fans are fanatics. But the one thing that I like about boxing is that normally the best boxer will win in the fight. You know what I mean? Like in the UFC, there's so many different things can happen, or so many things can go wrong, and it's not often the best person wins. You know what I mean? And like you might just be very unlucky, or break your leg, or get choked out, or do like a wrong move. But the thing I like about boxing is 9 times out of 10, the better boxer, like the person who's better, will win.
The one who actually is putting in the more work, more effort, and deserves it, right?
Yeah, 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 sort of. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you're looking at things on paper, whereas anything can happen in the UFC.
But I think that's why it's so popular. It adds that element of excitement and uncertainty. And then there's when
Yeah, yeah,
somebody gets knocked out, everyone loves a knockout. With 4 ounce gloves, it's not
yeah,
that hard to knock someone out.
yeah, 100%, definitely.
All right. My next question was going to be about the state of boxing in Australia, which you've covered already.
Hmm.
But how do you see things moving forward? We have a few world champions, or we've had a few world champions, and we have a few big names. Jai Bataille is probably our biggest name at the moment internationally, but at home he's not that well recognised. Is that because where are we falling off here, Connor? Is Australia not embracing him? Is there not enough attention going to him? What do you think is this reason?
Yeah, well, I think now that he's been on them big stages, a lot more people are recognizing him. Like when he was here in Australia, people just take it for granted. You know what I mean? Like how good he actually is. Like he's an absolute machine. And I think it took for him to go to England and do what he done, and then people was like, holy shit, who is this guy? Like we hadn't heard much of him, because we are so far away. But then when you see him now, everyone in England's a big fan of him. He's been to Saudi. He fucking cleaned up there as well, and they're all right behind him there too. And they're obviously mad to get him back on because he brings it every single time, and like he'll fight anyone. And that's the mentality you need to have. I believe, and I'm a bit like that myself. I've never backed down from a fight, and you bring the excitement, the fan friendly style. He can punch. That's what you want, and that's what puts bums on seats as well. So I think
Absolutely.
it's just a matter of time for him to get that breakthrough, because I think people over here just took it for granted, how good he actually was.
So Australia's watching, but we're taking things for granted. Hopefully, we can tune in more, and more eyes are on yourself and Jai and all these other fighters that are really representing us on the international stage.
Yeah.
Um, You've been amazing, Connor. You've shared a ton of insight with us. We really appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, any regrets, my man? And what would you say to somebody who's trying to follow your footsteps and become a professional fighter?
Nah, well, I've no real regrets. Obviously, I reckon just for anyone coming up, work hard. You know, never look back, never have regrets, and live every day like it's your last, and train for every fight like it's a world title fight in the gym. You know what I mean? Because if you lose, you slip back down the rankings, or like you just every fight. I'm a very competitive person, and every fight for me is a must-win fight. You know, and I'm like that in all ways of life. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So put your heart and soul into it with perseverance, hard work. Anything is possible.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conor Wallace, make sure you tune in on DAZN, March 17th. It's going down. Conor Wallace versus Jack Gipp. Conor, thank you very much for joining me on Raw Sport. Thank you, brother.
For having me, brother.
Thank you.